versus Bull. Uh, I'll explain that in a second. But Cam, let me ask, how's your portfolio doing?
My portfolio in what regards?
We're talking about stocks, man.
Bears and Bulls, man.
Come
I
on.
mean, generally speaking, I'm not a financial advisor, and if I was, it'd be a really bad one. So,
Okay.
maybe don't go with me on stock advice. But if you're going on player advice, I do have some great guidance there.
Perfect segue. So bear references a bear market when stocks trend down. Bull references a bull market when stocks trend up. So we're going to take that and take stock on players and see if they're trending up or down. Let's start with what are we starting with first? We're starting with players trending down, and we'll start with your Kim first, and it's someone that's near and dear to your heart, or maybe not anymore.
No, I still think near and dear is actually the right word. Jalen Milroe genuinely has been a good quarterback at Alabama in general.
Mhm.
Um, he's had a couple of very memorable moments. The two that come to mind are 4th and 31 against Auburn in 23, and then against Georgia last year, where it was probably the most lights out game I've ever seen by an offense in a first half period. Um, the biggest thing with trending down, or what I look for, is players that are surrounded by talent but never quite find a way to blossom, at least not on a regular basis, generally don't work out at the next level. As of right now, today's January 14th. Jalen Milroe has declared for the NFL draft. I look at some players and I go, this is the guy that at the next level is able to perform or is not able to perform. When I'm looking at Milroe, some of the crazy stats that I went and pulled, yep, he's a one. He's only able to operate if he's able to run.
Mhm.
Okay. So in games that he won, he put up 215 yards, had a 70% completion percentage, and put up a touchdown and a half each and every game that he played in over the last or over this season in 2024. The
Mhm.
bigger stat line to look at, though, the average rushing yards from those wins was 77 yards, averaging 6.2 per carry and over two rushing touchdowns per game. The exact opposite happens when you shut down his rushing game. What you'll see is that the passing yards actually went up by 11, so we're up to 226 yards per game. But our completion percentage takes a 15% dip going down to 56%, and now we're not even at a full touchdown per game. Now, the craziest stat of them all, and it's the reason I say he's not a dynamic quarterback, and I question it at the next level unless he's able to get help. In games that he lost, Milroe put up 8.8 yards per game on the ground. Not
Wow.
per rush. That is per game. So that's Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Oklahoma and Michigan. In those games, averaging 9 yards a game when you're a dual threat doesn't fly. You're a 240-pound quarterback. You have to be able to throw the ball. What I'm learning is if you get put in those scenarios where you're forced to pass, you don't have it. You're not able to read. And I love being able to look for Milroe's ability to read. And yet, the deeper that I look, the worse it actually becomes. At this point, if Jalen Milroe can't run the ball, I don't have faith in him at the next level. The largest mistake I see for him is actually declaring. I think that he would benefit so greatly from trying to learn from a great offensive mind that we actually have in football or in college football to try and build his draft stock going into the NFL. I do think it's there. I just think that he needs to work on the mentality in order to make it better. Teams that would best suit him, I think it would take an air raid style of offense so that he's able to work on his quick decision making and to try and open up the secondary underneath while they have to kind of focus on his run game. A team that really sticks out, it's ironic because I think Evan might hit on this one later, Miami. I think he would be an excellent fit for Miami as Cam Ward is just leaving there. Cam Ward put up 40 touchdowns, rushed for 1,000, put up a zillion yards. That's that kind of offense that he would be successful in because he has enough talent around him to be able to break it out, and he would have the offensive coordinator to help. Sorry, that
Evan,
was
you got
long-winded.
no, it's all good. Evan, you got anything to add on him?
No, I totally agree. Milroe, he started out the season as just one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Mhm.
And it was a landslide. So I don't want to ruin too much of what I'm gonna say about some other players, but totally agree with what Cameron said.
So I do want to call out one thing. Sometimes
Okay.
draft comparisons come up, and you have physical specimen that are oftentimes drawn. And there's only one player in recent memory that really hits as a Jalen Milroe in terms of size and capability. That's Anthony Richardson. I think there's a better mentality for the game and the support for your team and not wanting to sit out after you're tired after a play. But I think that is your NFL equivalent there. I don't think the mentality the game dynamics are there.
So I think the only benefit for Milroe is that he's still going to go in the first round. A lot of mocks have him in the first round. Mel Kiper has him as a top 5 quarterback. Now, maybe at the end of the day, he'll slide, but he's projected for the first round because he's 6'2", he's a big body, and there's going to be a team out there, maybe a team like the Steelers that has a Russell Wilson that says, okay, we're going to draft this guy at 20, have him sit on the bench, have him learn from Russ, and have him play when he's ready. I mean, I guarantee there's a GM out there that's going to throw away all the tape on what he does bad and only show the owner, the 50-yard bombs and the 50-yard runs, and he will be
So,
drafted. in the
Joey,
first round.
you look at Jalen Milroe in the same light that the Falcons looked at Michael Penix when he came in to play.
Yeah,
Correct?
I'm just looking at
So
it.
you
from
think
what a
Jalen
GM's gonna say.
Milroe's on the same level as Michael Penix?
It's
Not
perception, not
even that.
reality.
Yeah.
It's perception.
Yeah.
The perception
Yeah,
is there will be a team that says we can fix this guy because he has the physical tools.
Agreed. I totally agree. And
Yeah.
and
It's gonna be a
Cameron's
bad
gonna be
pick.
on the total
be a bad
opposite
pick.
side of the planet.
But it'll
Yeah.
happen.
But I agree, yeah, because he does have all the physical attributes, and you never know what can happen in an NFL locker room, right? You look at Joe Milton this past Sunday, who finally got his first, not really start, but pretty much start at the Patriots. Every Tennessee fan, including myself, was not sold on him, right? But he finally got in an NFL locker room, got NFL level coaches, NFL level wide receivers, and he balled out.
Yeah.
You never know what can happen.
I'll throw out a different one. Jalen Hurts went into the league. A lot of people didn't have faith. I had said he'd be great because all he ever tried to do was continue building. But the best thing he ever did was go to Oklahoma to learn under Lincoln Riley on how to be successful and to better build his brain on how to read the field. I think that's what Milroe needs.
I agree
Yeah,
with you. He
don't
should have
agree with
transferred.
you.
I agree with you. He should have transferred. I'm just saying he's going to be a first-round pick, whether he pans out or not.
By any team that
Agreed.
takes him.
I
And I
agree
only
with
wish
you.
him the
Well,
best.
Good thing you're not a GM.
All right. Well, we have five more of these to get through. So let's
Yeah.
move on to another bust. This is your turn, Evan. And that's not a
Yeah,
mistake,
so-
by the way. He plays for Miami.
Yes, he is a Miami quarterback as of this past week. Carson Beck, let's be honest, look, he was first team All-American quarterback this preseason this past year, and then everything went downhill. Carson Beck has all of the tools needed to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He has all the tools needed to be one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL at this point. He just hasn't been there yet. He's made really bad decisions. You got a quarterback who has made almost half of the amount of touchdowns he has, almost half of that same number have been interceptions. It's been a really bad year for Carson Beck, who started as one of the top NFL prospects. The only other thing that I will say on him, I'm not sold that going to Miami and staying in the NFL, or excuse me, staying in college football is the best move for him. Right now, it is great considering the fact that he's going to make more next year than Bryce Young and a bunch of, Drake May, like a bunch of other NFL starting quarterbacks. However, to your point with Milton, Carson Beck, no matter what, if he went to the NFL right now, he would get drafted, and he would get drafted for a good amount of money. If he goes to Miami next year, which obviously he is, he's probably not going to live up to Cam Ward standards that he made this past year. His stock can only go down. I'm not sold that this is the right move for him. Just from a long-term perspective, happy for him. Happy he's getting a lot of money, but he is
4 million.
bad. Exactly.
The injury timing was really unfortunate in general. What's going on, Cam?
Cameron, it's
At
4.
6 million. Is it 4?
It's 4.
6 million. It's
Oh,
4.
okay, I thought it was 6.
No,
Okay.
it's 4. Yeah.
So I disagree with Evan on this one. I actually
Of
think
course.
that Carson Beck had a decent season. I think his team really let him down. He had most drops in all of college football.
How many of
Now-
his drops? How many of his drops ended in picks?
How many times are you trying to force the ball because you think that your receivers are going to drop the damn ball?
Sorry, that's
Uh-uh.
bad. It's bad decision making. It's bad decision making.
No, I'm sorry. If you can't trust your receivers, you get put in scenarios where you're trying to force the ball down the field. It happens.
Yeah, you could throw it away too.
Now, not late in games, and that's when they tended to happen. The problem that I see with Carson Beck, and I actually agree with him transferring. I don't think that going to Miami for him seemed like a bad take, but I really think that that's the wrong school. I think he's a quarterback that needs to sit under center, that needs to try and be better at reading the field, and to try and be that pocket passer that he is. He's not a dual threat. Cam Ward, that he's leaving, is a dual threat. The individual that was there, I cannot remember his name at the moment, was also a dual threat. That is a dual threat place. I don't know that he's going to be successful. It's a lot of deep reads, a lot of crosser reads, and a lot of trying to buy time.
Okay. I mean, recovery time is 8 to 10 weeks. Brock Purdy had the same injury, came back in about 8 to 10 weeks. He's going to miss spring practice. He'll probably be ready to go for the season. High price to pay, but I guess nowadays that's chump change for these schools. We shall see. Let's move on. Mine is Ollie Gordon, running back out of Oklahoma State. And this guy entered the season as an ESPN top 100 player at number 8, behind Carson Beck, who is number 7. And that's for good reason. In 2023, Gordon rushed for over 1,700 yards and 21 touchdowns. He had at least 100 yards in 9 and 14 games. He had 200-plus games, and the Cowboys went 10-4. All right, so turn the clocks forward. It's been a nightmare season. This year his yards were cut in half, 880. He still had 13 touchdowns, but just 4 100-plus yard games. And guys, in his defense, Oklahoma State trailed at halftime in 8 games they played this season. So they pretty much had to turn it a pass in the second half. So, I mean, this guy still had relatively a good year, but not compared to as the year before. I'll get to his draft stock in a second, but I just kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on it.
Yeah. So, Ollie Gordon, I'm really hoping NFL scouts don't take this season against him.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what happened with Oklahoma State. They were just a really good team, and he had an amazing season. This season, even though the team had just an abysmal record, he still balled out in the times that he was allowed to, right? I am hoping that the NFL scouts and just all teams in general, they understand this is not the same team. This was not the same Ollie Gordon. He still made do with what he had, but he just didn't have much.
I think at the running back position, injury is probably the most common reason for a down year. Even in the NFL, Derrick Henry had a couple of years. It happens. I think it's unfortunate that he wasn't already in the NFL so that he couldn't get paid that way. But I think it was primarily due to injury. I think he will be successful at the next level.
All right. Let's move on to our bowls. And these are the guys that are doing really well. Cam, we're going to start with you first. You got a quarterback from Iowa State.
So my favorite thing is when we have players at mid-tier colleges that have to overcome adversity and somehow manage to stick out, whether that's statistically or just bringing their teams to greatness. Rocco Becht is no different. Some of those other quarterbacks in the past that I look at as being successful were Lamar Jackson at Louisville when he had his Heisman campaign, Patrick Mahomes, RG3, Cam Newton. There's a number of different players that over the years weren't at top talent schools, but they managed to transcend that school, bring them to new elevations, and make them look a bit better. Now, Rocco Becht is Iowa State's quarterback. He's in his second year of starting. This year, he threw for 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 9 picks. He had a 13% raise in yards and 2 extra touchdowns over his 2023 campaign. And quite frankly, they easily could have made a berth in the college football playoff this year. He did fight an injury in the fourth quarter of the Arizona State win, albeit they were already losing pretty badly in that second half. But I really look forward to watching Iowa State in the future. Now, guys, I have a question for you. Could he end up being the best quarterback in Iowa State school history, at least by season? Who is the best in terms of career yards and touchdowns at Iowa State? Do y'all know?
Is it Purdy?
I always love when Cameron asks these questions, knowing that nobody knows the answer.
Okay. It's probably someone from.
Hammered it.
Is it Purdy?
No, Joey nailed it. Yep,
Yeah.
It's Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy was a 4-year starter at Iowa State.
Okay. All right.
So,
All right. Well, he's trending up. The next guy on the list, Evan, this guy is near and dear to your heart. And so this guy, you think of Tennessee running backs, you think Arian Foster, you think Jamal Lewis, you think, who do I have on here? Travis Henry, who killed the Gators back in the day. This guy has beat them all out in terms of stats. And why don't you tell us more about him?
Yeah. All right. So I don't know how I cannot talk about Dylan Sampson.
Mm-hmm.
Led the SEC this year, broke so many records, and somehow was not recognized for any award in college football. I don't understand how that's possible. Dylan Sampson deserves to be recognized for what he did this past season. He was the absolute workhorse of Tennessee. He led Tennessee to their 10-win season. He led them to the playoffs, and he put that entire team on his back. There's not a whole lot that I need to say about his stats or anything like that, because they speak for himself. Enough people have talked about him throughout this entire season to know that he should be deserving of all the awards that he was never considered for. His draft stock at the beginning of this past year was, non-existent. Nobody was talking about him. Now he's a first rounder. And if he's not an early first rounder, I think pretty much any team is going to make a mistake in not picking him. So that's all I got to say about Dylan Sampson. Amazing season, amazing player, amazing teammate. And he just shut up pretty much everybody else.
So real quickly, before we get to Cam here, on his draft stock, ESPN doesn't even have him as a top 10 quarterback entering the draft, or top 10 running back. They have him
insane.
I don't know what the number is, but they have him outside of that. They have 10 other guys in front of him.
It's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. I would love to hear the reasoning for why some scouts are still down on Dylan Sampson. It's not like he was going up against cupcake teams. This was deep in the SEC. This was some really deep competition. This is a big guy that knows how to absolutely mull over the competition.
Do you know why, Cameron?
No. If you want my honest opinion, I think Evan's pretty much right on. Nico sure as heck wasn't, leading that team to greatness this year. I look at Dylan Sampson. He was excellent. 1,000+ yard back this year. Really came through when Tennessee needed those yards. Really came through in every moment that they had outside of Ohio State, but that wasn't his own fault. Excellent season. I look forward to seeing him at the next level.
Okie dokie. Now we're going to go to my guy, who also is in the SEC. It's Lenore Sellers, freshman quarterback out of South Carolina. So this guy was named along with two other Gamecocks, to the freshman All-American team. Over 2,500 yards passing, 18 touchdowns through the air, 7 on the ground. He also had 674 rushing yards. He's a dual threat guy. And the great news for him and for Carolina fans is he just signed an NIL deal in the last few weeks, so that'll keep him in Columbia another season with their official collective there. He helped South Carolina win the final 6 games of the year and almost sneak into the college. I don't know about almost, but they were a dark horse candidate to get in. And he's already a Heisman contender heading into 2025. So just to keep it short and sweet on this guy, they got a great thing going. They brought in a transfer quarterback from Ohio State, one of their backups or third stringers. But I don't think that's going to affect him starting. But what do you guys see from him? Because he almost beat Alabama this year, Cam.
Yeah. Well, Lenore Sellers, I think, was still very much getting used to his own boots at that point. I don't think that he was quite confident yet as the quarterback at South Carolina. And what was funny is while we were playing, all of my friends are blowing up my phone. Why does Alabama look so bad? Why does South Carolina look so good? Who's this Sellers guy, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think he had come into his prime yet. I think he's just starting to hit his stride. And I really look forward to seeing him over the next year or two. I think he could be a fantastic quarterback. Him and DJ Lagway down at Florida. I think they're both going to be really fun to watch in the SEC.
I was going to pick Lagway, but I didn't want to go with the low-hanging fruit. But Evan, you got anything on this guy?
Yeah, all I have to say is if you are an SEC defense next year and you say you are not nervous about Lenore Sellers, you are straight up lying. This dude can pick apart a defense. And I mean, as an SEC fan myself that does not root for the Gamecocks, I'm scared.
Sellers is a guy that can get out of the pocket, buy time, and then explode down the field, either with his own legs or just launch it. And he's not afraid to do it. I do want to make one final comment, not on Lenore Sellers.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a runner-up, and Evan might be on the same boat as me. I want to hand it to Jake Retzlaff as for a fantastic season at BYU. Truly a fantastic season, and he will be back. I also look forward to watching him next season.
Agreed. Jake Retzlaff, he had an incredible season that nobody saw coming from BYU. Yeah, nobody saw that coming. I hope it continues next year. I don't know if it will or if this was just a Cinderella season, but hats off to that entire team, especially Jake Retzlaff.
All right, there you go, guys. Bears versus Bulls. We're going to do this in the near future with teams. Which teams are trending up? Which teams are trending down? We'll do it with other things. So this is a segment that's we're gonna get into the mix here. Evan, you're watching the show. You like it. What's the first thing you're gonna do?
I'm gonna like, comment, and subscribe to this whole shindig.
Maybe you can share it too. I'd love to have this get in more places.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, guys, we love to hear from you. We started to get some more comments. We'd love to post your comments up on a future episode. So call us out. If you don't agree with us, let us know. We would love to debate with you live on recording.